Oh yeah, I'm pretty good. I can walk around all right. Being as I'm 100. Yeah, I've had some cards. Yeah, I've had some cards. I don't run, but I walk pretty fast. No, I'm pretty... Oh yeah, I've got a copy stick here. Oh, I won't do without that. Yeah, there's my stick. That's an Australian stick, and my grandson bought me that. Yeah, that's my Australian cane, yeah. I was born in Woolwich, North Woolwich. Yeah. I was brought up on the Thames. I learnt to swim in the Thames, Barge House, Woolwich. Yeah, oh yes, I learnt to swim in the Thames. And I had to do 50 yards in the Port of London, otherwise if I didn't do it in the 3 years, I was thrown out. But of course I done two lengths of the baths, by Liv Street baths, and the man who was there, he was a man from the Port of London Authority when I was a messenger boy in the dock, the Elba dock, and of course I'd done the 2 lengths of the bars. I was all right. Yeah, so otherwise you didn't get your 2 shilling rise, 14 shillings a week. Yeah, I mean that was my wages in the war, you know. It's 14 shillings. All you got is in the army. I was in France. That's all you got. 14 shillings a week in the army. Yeah, that was our wages. Well, my mum was Elizabeth. I don't forget Dad's name now. Oh, I know. I don't. Do you remember the whale that was brought up into Woolwich? Yeah, well, years ago there was he towed a whale up in Woolwich. He was captain of a tug. Williams is my dad, yeah. And he lost his blooming job over that because he towed this dead whale up to Woolwich because he had a photo taken. I haven't got a photo, but one of my grandsons has got a photo of him standing on the whale at the Pavilion Hotel, Woolwich. That's where he towed it up when he was captain of a tug. Yeah, and of course he lost his job over that, and then he worked for the Port of London Authority. Well, the old Londonderry Dock, really, at them days, the Londonderry Dock. Well, of course, I worked for the Port of London myself, but he was on the Londonderry Dock. And he went mad, he lost his brain because a ship caught him in the back, snapped and caught him in the back as he used to be towing the ships into Woolwich, Elba Dock. And that caused troubles to his brain. In the back, the hawser broke. And of course he finished up in the asylum. He's 40 years in the asylum, my father. All through that, yeah. It affected his brain. He hit him in the back. And he finished up in the asylum. Yeah. Of course I never saw him. We never used to go and see him. He went mad, really. He went crazy. He was going to kill my mother and my young brother. And I carted him off, yeah, and he went mad over that. I don't know what it caused his brain to go, yeah. And he finished up in the asylum 40 years, yeah. He died when he was 80-odd. When I was a boy, when I was a lad, she worked in the jam factory in Silvertown. Of course, when he was taken, because she kept 5 of us, my mum, my mother. Oh, I've got a lovely photo of her, yeah. My mother, she's got a lovely woman she was, yeah. And of course she worked in a jam factory in Woolwich and she kept 5 of us. Of course my oldest brother, of course he's dead now, he died some 5, 6 years ago. My younger brother, of course he's out in Australia. And my sister Edie, of course she died some years ago. Charlie, no, Charlie's dead. Died some years ago, yeah. Yes, Charlie lived in Silvertown. Yeah, Charlie's died, yeah. But he was, I forget what his age when he died. I know he was getting on a bit. Well, of course, so am I, as a matter of fact. But Charlie was getting on a decent bit when he died. When I was on for, I was called up. I was in the territorials before the war, before 1914. And I was I was in 7 Elm Road, Silvertown, in the Port of London Authority. And Connolly come round to my mother and said, "Oh, what is he? Where is he?" Because he didn't turn up for work. We had a little office in 7 Elm Road, Silvertown, and I used to have to see. I had a big map in front of me, and when they were demolishing the houses in Woolwich and Silvertown, they were paying the removal bills, the Port of London Authority, when people getting out moving, because they were going to build the King George Dock at the time, when I was a messenger. And of course I had a big map in front of me, and I had to paint the map as they demolished the houses in Woolwich and Silvertown. I had to paint this map. That was my job. And of course, when the war broke and I was called up in the territorials, this O'Connell went to my mother in Woolwich and wanted to know where I was. So she said, well, if you want him, he's over in Woolwich. I was already in the territorials. I'd done 2 camps before the war. I was Salisbury Plain and Northumberland. As a fact, up in Northumberland, I was only home a fortnight when the war broke out. So I was really fully trained as a territorial. And the old ideal horses up there, because the horses, I used to borrow the horses. Used to borrow all farm horses up when we were up there in Northumberland, yeah. So of course I was fully trained in the territorials. I used to do my drills over gun drill over at Woolwich Arsenal and that. And Saturday afternoon we used to go over there with the regulars and do our training on West Square Woolwich. Call a wheel driver. Yeah, well I call it, well that's lead central wheel. I had a gun behind me, 18-pounder. When we was in action, I had the 18-pounder behind me. The limber used to was behind me, and the gun used to hook onto the limber, and the limber used to have 76 rounds in it, 18-pounder rounds in it. Yeah, so of course we used to dump the old gun, and the limber was always with us. Yeah, we used to carry that with us all the time. Yeah, so I used to have what they call a leg iron up here, because the bar used to come with a pole bar. When you had a pair of horses, you had a kind of a pole bar going across. You used to hook the 2 horses to that, and of course I used to have to put a leg iron on under the account of the bar coming along. They used to have a bar for the 2 horses, and then of course the bar used to come alongside here, so I had to have a leg iron up. Oh, well, 1915 I was over in France. There was about 9 months, I suppose. About 9 months we was getting around Woolwich and all, travelling around the country. Of course they were taking the Germans off. Of course we travelled around to keep the Germans off, because there were never spies, see, want to know where we were, so we used to travel around the country. So, you know, it was the old spies them days. And of course we used to travel around the country, and all of a sudden we were carted off to Beaumont Hamel, and of course my mother come and see us off. Yeah, we was off to France. The funny thing about it, Macron, a mate of mine, he said, when we go over the other side, he said, don't get alarmed. He said, you'll think it's perhaps a submarine bogging us or something. He said, the anchor go down. So when we were out in Calais in France, so the anchor went down, and of course it makes a hell of a noise. And our horses were all undercover in mid-deck. Of course they walked down into mid-deck, all our horses were all undercover in mid-deck. So of course we landed out there. Didn't take us long to travel up the country, so we landed over in Calais. That's the one coming in. Oh yeah, we travelled across. And a mate of mine, he said, don't be surprised. He said, you'll think it's submarines in us or something. Dropped the old anchor down, and of course we landed ashore up country. Then I travelled all up and down France. I can't tell you the names of all of them. Oh no, on the road. Oh yeah, we had our guns and limbers with us. So we down the ship, they landed them ashore out in France. Oh yeah, we had our guns and limbers with us. Yeah, we travelled up and down the country. Oh, we was all over them, up and down the country in France, all according to where the Germans were going to break through. That's where you had to be. So that's why we travelled so much up and down the country, in the artillery. Oh, I don't know how many places we stopped at, I couldn't tell you. But we always had to be there when the Germans was going to break through. They all seemed to know, but anyway, we travelled about 30 mile, 40 mile up by road. 6 guns in our battery, B battery. There's A and B battery, A, B and C. That's travel together. Of course, we used to travel up the roads in different places, you know. But we were never together. We was at the B battery. We may be in one place and they in another and be in another. Sort of called where the Germans were going to break through. I was 18. 18 then. When I was 18, I mean, I was already in the territories when I was called up. I was in the territories, I think, when I was about 16. I'd done my training over at Woolwich. The regulars over there Saturday afternoon, we used to go over there, give them a couple of shillings. And we used to do all the regular training over at Woolwich, West Square Woolwich, with the regular army. Yeah, it was so... I'd done 2 camps before the war, 1914 on Salisbury Plain, and, no, 1913 on Salisbury Plain, 1914 on Northumberland. It was up in Northumberland, and it was only over a fortnight when the war broke out, 1914. And of course I was already fully trained then, so of course I was straight over Woolwich. When they wanted, my chap came round to my mother, wanted to know where I was, because I was in the old, what the Port of London, it was the old London Dock really. That was when my father was in the old London Dock. But then of course it was Port of London Authority over latter years, and when I was a messenger it was the Port of London Authority. So I was a messenger in the Albert Dock. I used to be delivering letters to three different places. That was the General Office. I used to be in the General Office as a messenger. Then I used to go over to the south side, 7 Albert Road, the General Office and 5 Group. That was the 3 officers I used to deliver messages to. Deliver to all... and then, of course, when the war broke out, of course, that finished all that. Yeah, and of course they let the Port of London Authority know I was called up. And our head office was, of course, was Tower Hill, our main office. Port of London Authority was Tower Hill. That was our PLA's main office. Yeah. Yeah, so of course I never got the first leave for 16 months. My eldest brother was with me. And of course he was... although he was actually, he trained himself for the telegraphy. So he part-time, he wasn't with me, my eldest brother. Of course he's dead now, died about 4 years ago. No, well, his name was Wallace. Well, he was with me, but he was... yeah, then of course he went to the transporters, he transferred to the transporters, and he nearly got killed in the transporters. Although he came home, he's been dead a few years now, but he came home after the war with me, same as me, and he lived in Boston Woods. When the Germans were breaking through, we had to be there. Might be 40-mile march, up and down the coast in France and Belgium. That's where we're going over there now. Oh no, the Germans, of course we used to have to hold them back because they used to break through now and again, you know, but we were always there and drove them back out of it. But they don't never actually break through a Balliol and them places. Oh no, we used to hold them back. Only a driver. I didn't do any driving. I didn't do any gun drill or anything like that. All I used to do was hook on and off it, you know. I had the limber behind me, so we used to. I had the ammunition in the limber, 76 rounds. We used to unload that. Us drivers used to unload that. Another thing we had to do. We had to dig with gun pits. Yeah, we had to dig when we were going into action. If we were going to a certain place, we used to have to dig a gun pit. Nearly as big as this, to gun to fit in, with a hole in front of it. But that was our job, digging the gun pits and all that sort of thing. You look after your 2 horses. I was officer's groom for 16 months. I had 3 horses. That was two horses for the army, for the officers, and I had my own horse. I had 3 horses to look after. So I had a busy job. Yeah, pre-war days. That was just before the war. Before we went out to France and that, I had 3 horses, and of course when I went out to when we were over in France, I took my pair of horses over. So the army had to find somebody else. Because I said to Sergeant Major Bishop, I said, I want my horses back. I said, I'm not having any more of this. I said, 3 horses. So I went direct driving again. That's me, what they call the off horse. That's the rider and the off horse. So I had them 2 with a limber behind me. Yeah, Freddie Weller, I've got a photo of me somewhere. Freddie Weller, my lead driver, he got killed while I was home on leave. And that was the last time I saw him. He took me on leave. And we were single, what they call a single mount. He had a mount and I had a mount. He took me on leave, and he was killed while I was home on leave. I think it's in France, yeah. So we may find his oh, well, he was only 18 them days. 18 to 20, he was nearly the same age as me. And if I had been home on leave, I reckon I'd have been killed with him because he was killed. Well, I don't know, he may have stopped a shell. You know, yeah, he may have stopped a shell. But him and I used to keep down together beside a wall or anything like that. If there was a wall in the church, we used to pack down beside and make a little bivvy, covered us up each side, you know. They built our little bivvy, we used to pack down. Of course, you never took any clothes off them days. You was always ready to move off right away. You always sleep in your clothes. Take your boots off, them do. You slip them on. Oh yeah, it was always go all the time. Our horses were tied in between the limbers. So, you know, with the gun limbers, they used to rope to the gun limbers. We all used to shackle one leg down on account they kicked out. One nearest the horse, we used to put a shackle around that, peg it into the ground and put a shackle around the horse, of course, stop them kicking out. Of course, they could do damage to the horse next to them if you didn't shackle them down. Some of these horses were always kicking out. Yeah, but we had to look out. That was one of our main jobs, to make sure our horses were all. My mother, of course, my dad, of course, he was dead. But my mother was, she died when she was in her 80s. Yeah, she was getting on, yeah, when she died. But she was a lovely woman. Well, she kept 5 of us. Worked in Keeler's Jam Factory in Silvertown. Kept 5 of us children. Yeah. I think I'm about the only one that's alive out of us. I don't know why it is. I'm in the middle there. Yeah.
What's the secret of long life?
Well, I don't know. I think it's not worry much about it. Have a decent life. Living, have plenty of food and that, food and rest. Yeah, but I can't tell you how it is. I've always been contented. I'll take one day as it goes. I don't worry. I've never worried during the war. I got the military medal during the war. I didn't worry about anything. I just got it. The Menin Road is over there, where the Germans used to shell the Menin Road. And the Germans started shelling the road, and I led them out the way. Of course, we used to carry the shells on the horse. There were 8 shells on the horse, you know, them days. We used to load up with it was always undercover, all the shells. We used to load up, and then used to go up the road and deliver the shells to the gun position. On the Menin Road, there used to be a screen 100 yards right along the side of the Menin Road, so as if the Germans were looking, it was just fields. Because when past you got up past the screen, you had to look out there as the road was shelled. And when they started shelling, of course, I led them round out of the way. I had the men and horses. I was what they call them. I was a guide. I was right in front of them. There's more just gone by. And when I was in front of them, and I led them right out of the way off the road. And being in charge of them, that's why I got my military medal, because I actually saved their lives, because the Germans started shelling the road. Because when past you got up past the screen, you had to look out there as the road was shelled. I took things as they come, like I do now. I didn't worry about it. No, I didn't worry about it. No, I take things as they come now. I don't worry about it. I didn't worry about it then. I always said, what's to be will be. We had, tanks. We had tanks. The Menin Road, the Germans, when they built the track, our tanks couldn't go over the mountain. The trench that they built had to be filled in so our tanks would go across them. Otherwise, the tanks would fall down them. Oh yeah, oh, there's a big trench that they built, the Germans, in between the. I forget how long that was. Oh, it was a hell of a long. The only place you could go across it was in Belgium somewhere. Oh, it was always wide. Oh, no, they didn't. It wasn't. I suppose the dugouts where the Germans used to sleep down were 50 foot down. And of course, the trouble was that some of our boys slept down there, and they lost their lives for it. Because when the Germans started shelling, they filled the blooming what's name's in, because they were facing the German lines that way. See, they should have been under this way, so the shells went over the top. The shells went down, and of course they're silly enough to go down there to sleep, and they got buried down there. No, we didn't see many. We wouldn't know many people. The only people that I actually knew was the chaps who used to work for the customs in the Victoria Dock when I was in the Victoria Dock. A couple of chaps used to be with the customs. I met them out there, but apart from that, I didn't see anybody that I knew. Food, oh well, it was army rations. The biscuits, I tell you, we used to have square biscuits. We used to. Food was pretty good, mostly bully stews, mostly bully beef and all that. Our food was bully beef all the time, you know, bully beef stews and all that. But I was 11 stone, even on that. 11 stone. Very hard biscuits. I used to jump on them and mix them with my jam ration. In between paper and that, I used to put them in between jam and jump on them, squish them up and mix my jam ration with them. Yeah. No, we never used to get it in parcels out there. Oh, yeah, we used to, well, no, you're right. Yeah, it was a postcard. All right, Mum. You know. But we never used to write letters or anything like that. No. Well, it was 16 months before I got home on leave. My brother and I, 16 months before we got home on leave. Well, I've got a photo. I'm trying to get it from my son's wife, Betty. I was trying to get a photo of the two of us standing up the toilet in our army uniform. And you know the thing, I can't get that from her somehow. I want to get that photo and have a copy taken of it. I never met anybody after the war, as a matter of fact. Only one chap named McCriner. He worked in the Menin Mills. And I met him after the war, and it was only because I had a football team. I made up a football team after the war amongst some of our lads who worked in the port of London. And we had a football team, and I met him over at... he worked for Menin Mills over the other side of the dock. Oh no, McCriner, no. No, he wasn't in the trenches. No, he was the same as me, a driver. And he got wounded. He was in my team when he got wounded. Germans started showing us. On one occasion, I was getting up on the Somme in 1916. I went up to get a wagon with a broken pole, an ammunition wagon. And the Germans started showing us as we got up there to get this what's the name of the cook's cart had the spare pole on it. We was going up there to get this wagon, and the trouble was, called a master sergeant. It was dark, because we always went up in the dark with this sort of thing, you know. The blooming quartermaster sergeant, or his small son of light, that's the worst thing you could have done. They've never started shelling us. See, you couldn't light a match them days. So, of course, he shot this match going. Then the boys called him something. We should shell us right away, because there was always somebody looking for any light at all. They shell it where it was, near enough. Because we captured the ground. The Germans held. We captured all that ground, so they knew all the ground. They knew the ground all about, and as soon as they saw a little light, oh, away we used to shell. Of course, they was all ready for that sort of thing. Yes. And another thing, the Germans there, that they had a gun, they had a big gun that used to could fire 20 mile. They fired it into Paris. I think it was 20 mile, a gun and whiz over the top. Yeah. Yeah, they used to come out on lines. Of course, they used to put that under cover quick because they knew they'd fire a couple of shells and under cover. Yeah, that was undercover, camouflaged up, they couldn't find it. Yeah. So our boys, they used to try on the aeroplanes, just go over and try and find it, but they never found it. Yeah, our planes, yeah, I saw one turn upside down. One of our planes, he tried to land, I don't know when he run out of petrol, but ground there was nothing else but shell holes, was it? As he landed, he went up. Yeah, up in the air. That was in no man's land, what we call no man's land. That was between the Germans and us. I don't know when they started shelling him anyway, he opted quick. Yeah, he all sort of run away into our lines quick. Yeah. Of course, they could soon run out and capture him. Yeah, but he was in what they call no man's land. There's a good distance between the two lots. But I always remember seeing you would call it a town, I suppose. Well, I would call it a village, a Morville. When you looked at it in the distance, it looked like a white town, a white village sort of thing, miles away, you know. Morville, that used to be in front of us, Morville. So it used to look, to us, it looked like a white town, you know. Perhaps it might have only been a big village. But we used to like to see that in front of us. Yeah, when the war broke out, or when the war finished, I was out in France. Because there's 4 years, I had 4 years out in France. Yeah. 16 months before I had to leave, my brother and I. Yeah. No, I didn't see that. No. There's no doubt they did. They were up in the line, I wasn't. They were up in the trenches, I wasn't up there. When they used to play football. There's no doubt that they did meet Christmas time. They did meet, but we didn't. I was too far away from them. I was well back out the way. Of course, our gun positions were miles away from them. I forget what distance we used to fire. 2,300 yards or something like that. There was a decent while where we used to shell the Germans. Some used to shell us. No, it wasn't. They had a bit of shrapnel in the right muscle, that was all. A bit of shrapnel and flying muscle. But I tell you what I did was in front of us. We watered our horses on one occasion. Of course, we used to have long water troughs. We used to lead our horses all the time to the water trough. And the Germans started shelling us. Well, right from here, across a long distance, and they killed a line of blooming horses. Germans started shelling right in. These blooming horses are tied up on those, just shelling them. Oh yes, some of them were wounded and they had to be shot. And of course that horse meat went for the French people. They used to eat the horse meat, but they all sold that to the French, or give it to them, I suppose. They gave it to them. They used to shoot the horses who were wounded, and of course the French people used to eat horse meat, so of course it went to them. So I don't know what happened. I think they used to give him the horses. Well, what they used to say to him, I don't know. But if we had our horses, it was I lost one with a broken fetlock joint, and we had to shoot it and dropped it in a shell hole on the side of the road and buried. 2 years after the war, before I got married. Yeah, and my wife, we lived in my sister, my older sister who's dead now, she died a few years ago, my sister Edie, and my wife used to live with her in the same house as them, because she used to be half houses them days. I suppose they still are, I suppose they're still there. And I met my wife with my sister in Woolwich, and of course we got married after the war. 5. I think we had 5, yeah. Eileen's my youngest one. She's out in Australia, and Brian, he's out in Australia. There's two of them. Maureen, of course, she's here. Maureen and Brian and Eileen. Wait a minute, I'm trying to find out the names of the others. Maureen's the oldest. Maureen and Brian, I think Brian's the second eldest. Eileen's the youngest, of course she's out in Australia. No, I never thought about anything. No, I never worried about anything. I never thought I'd reach this age. So I suppose I'm lucky, really, to carry on as I am. Yes, well, I've died a few years. Yeah. Oh, yes, right a few years ago, yeah. She died. Of course, in the other place, I've got a photo of her. Yeah, I've got a lovely photo of her. Because my eldest brother, of course, he died a few years ago, and Betty, of course, his wife, she's still alive, Betty. So I was trying to get a photo from her of Wall and myself standing up in our uniform, but she didn't worry about it, and I've never got it. So that's in the army uniform talking about. Wall and I were standing up together in our army uniform, but I never got that blooming photo from her. I don't know why she didn't give it to me, because I know she's got it, but I want to take a copy of it. No, I think Brian's got it. I think Brian's got it in Australia. I had 4 medals. I never got, no, my jacket's next door. On my jacket I've got the bar. That's the military medal, 1914-15 style, and the victory medal and general service. That's the 4 medals I've got. I should put that jacket on with the bar on there on Sunday. Yeah. And on that jacket, it's got the on the pocket. It's got the artillery badge. It's got the artillery gun there on my pocket. So I'll have the bar on top of that. Oh, I don't know how many times we went out. I think we kept getting back going. Our gun position was down there, so we had to go supply food and ammunition. Sort of called where they phoned up. And we had a line, what they call a line layer, Grave Objet. He got killed laying the lines. He was on no man's land at the time, laying a line from the battery to the gun position. He was laying a line, and he stopped the shell on his own, old Grave Objet. And he was bald-headed, and he used to sing, "Here, I've got an army noddle, I don't care how's down the street or tunnel." That was his song. He used to sing that. The old Grave Objet, he was a lovely bloke, he was. And of course he got wiped out through a shell on his own. He was laying a line to the gun from the battery to the gun position. He was out on no man's land, and it was a spare shell, I think, that killed him. You know, one that wasn't supposed to be there. Of course, the Germans used to shell anywhere there, and they used to shell all the different ground, you know, all the time. And that's why we used to have to dodge them as well. We always used to, in between times, we always used to know when they're going to start shelling, because they used to have a rest in between times. So when we guessed that we were going to rest, that's when we went on the road. Guns that time, yeah. Well, they used to have a rest, because they never used to be shelling all the time. No. Same as we never shelled all the time. Well, I think they used to wait for the old bloke in the basket up there with the observation balloon. When they used to start shelling, then if there was any movement, if he was watching any movement, he used to tell them, and then they started shelling the same as we did. If there was any movement at all about there anywhere, in the basket up there, and they used to shell it, knock him down, the same as our bloke used to knock down, and he used to bail out, parachute out. Of course, he was 80 foot up, he could use to parachute out, the same as it. Their bloke used to parachute out, get out of it quick, because the observation balloons used to be up on the street, you know, and the aeroplane used to come over, the old the old style aeroplanes them days with the wings, you know, open wings used to fly, not like the modern day flights, but them days they used to have the old wings, you know, sitting between the wings used to fly. They used to come and try and knock them down, which they used to knock them down, yeah. It was always a game, yeah, it was a game on our own. And of course we were on a canvas and we used to have to drop down as close as you could with the tin hat like that, on account of shrapnel falling down, because we were on a canvas, but of course as they hit the canvas it used to break the proper fall down quick, you know. So we never used to get wounded or anything like that. We used to have the gas mask in front of us, and that was always gas. And of course you had to be, as soon as it says gas, open up, you used to open up and put the old gas mask on. Oh no, we were still on the horse, yeah, and we carried that in front of us all the time. It was on the line of march or anything like that, or your horses, of course, they didn't worry about that. I don't think the gas used to worry them much, the horses, they never died. No, they never died, the horses. The only thing, there was a mustard gas. The Germans used to use a mustard gas. And that would kill you as you stood up. Mustard gas, oh yes. Really? A couple of the boys died of that, standing up, yeah. Yeah, they flopped down, yeah. Mustard gas. But they did use it a couple of times. We didn't use it, no, we never used it. No, we used to use gas shells. Gas shells, the Germans used to use gas shells. And you always had the warning of anything aeroplanes had three whistles. Those three whistles, you know, you had to be careful. Then you used to have your mask ready to put on if there's any gas around. And any shells the Germans used to shell just to get the three whistles, and all them things to give us a warning. The three whistles used to give us a warning. And most times, if you slept at all, it was all up against the wall, never using anywhere near gas limbers, never ammunition wagons, never anything. If you was in near a church wall or anything, you'd sleep up against the wall. Oh yes, you always be careful of that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, watch your own life. Always remember, I lit a fire, was having my jam ration, was having jam rams and biscuits. I was boiling some biscuits up with my jam ration, and the Bill was using the three whistles went, and I piddled on and put the fire out. Yeah, all that thing happened. Yeah, oh dear, that happened. Yeah. You had to be careful of anything in them days. And the worst bit about it with our Germans is the same as us. As soon as our boilers used to start lighting up early morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and if there's any flame at all, they had to be careful, because the Germans used to come over, and if they see a flame at all, they just bomb it like that. And everything was sort of camouflaged for this sort of thing, because they could come over and see the field kitchens. They could shell us and bomb us as well as we could do them. Yeah, all this fear. They had to be very careful of everything them days. Yeah. Our horses were tied in between the wagons, but of course you couldn't help it when the Germans just come over, and I don't think they were ever bombed or shelled any of the horses. The only time that I remember the horses got killed, there was a line of them, the RHs, and the Germans started shelling the RHs over a distance away from us, and the Germans were shelling over. Right, happened to catch these horses on, were tied up on the line, had to be shot, yeah, because they were wounded. But that was the only time that I remember the Germans were shelling the caught these horses on the line. But of course we had on one occasion the Germans started shelling us. We were watering our horses, and of course they were long trays with the water troughs. Water troughs, we were going to lead our horses up to the water troughs. And the Germans started shelling away from us, and we had a stampede, and our horses belted. And of course we had to go and fight them, didn't we? The one that upped it, they knocked us in the in the blooming water trough, and they were off. There were horses. My pair, I had to find them out in the field, so I remember finding them out in the field, because eventually my mare I used to drive, she went blind. Eventually, little my mare I used to drive, and I was always right on her, although she was blind, I used to have to hold her up, because she was always stumbling on the rough ground, but she was a lovely little mare, she was. But when they went after them all, I think they were sold to the French people. Well, I don't know if they were sold or given to the French people, but I don't know what happened to her. I think that was what happened to her. She was, I don't know whether she was killed or not, but they were all taken away from us after all. We didn't know what happened to them, because we come over from France by ship, so I don't know what happened to all the horses. They eventually went to the French people, I think, or most of them, yeah. Either some, or I suppose they went to, a lot of them, I suppose they were shot and went to the meat, for meat, horse meat. Yeah, I reckon that's what happened, especially the older horses. But a lot of our horses, they come from Australia. Australian horses they were, yeah, they were sent through out from Australia over to there, yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of horses from Australia. They were shipped over, yeah. Hey?
Did you ever ride horses after the war?
I won the jumping competition. Yeah. I beat the horses. I beat my two horses. I trained my rider over a 4-foot wall. And because I didn't know what I was doing that, I used to try to do that at night time with nobody around. And I tried out my rider over a 4-foot wall, and I beat the officers. Do 6 jumps, yeah. I beat the officers, yeah. Well, my rider, of course, he was a lovely, good off jump, lovely. Yeah, we had to do 6 jumps, so I done 6 jumps. Normally that prize was 5 shillings. I got £5 for that. Yeah, 6 jumps. Yeah, I beat them. Yeah, oh, real rider. Lovely rider it was, yeah, 6 jumps. Yeah, I did that to train it on them because you could put the reins on it. It would jump. 6 jumps, yeah. Lovely mare ride, lovely horse, yeah. Of course, you have to I looked after them pair. Of course, I was off the group for 16 months, so I had three horses to look after, and they had to be looked after. And of course, funny thing about it, these blooming officers, they used to get these actresses riding these horses, who would give them a ride, and you had to turn them out nice, you know. Polish the saddles up and all that, bits and saddles, and they get these actresses riding around. And when we was in the camp, yeah, oh, it was funny, it was with them. But it was a good job. It was a job that you had to do. You had to be. Another thing about it, you had to groom them properly, because if you rub the coat the wrong way up, and it was a bit dirty, that was dusty, that wasn't groomed. That wasn't called the officer. That wasn't groomed. So you had to groom them properly, so there was no dirt, dust or anything. If you could take the coat the wrong way, there's nothing on there. It was all right. Be well groomed, you know, with the old brush and all that. And we used to have a. I forget what did they call that thing now? It used to be made of iron, made of steel. It used to be made of steel. We used to use that on them, but not very often. But our brush was a stiff brush we used to use, and you used to brush them down. Yeah, well brush them down all the time, and they was always pretty clean. Their coats used to shine when you was really bright. When you really brushed them, their coat used to shine lovely. And they used to look nice. When they were well groomed, they used to look nice. The same as these race horses now at the present time. You see them, they're well groomed. You see how shiny their coats are. Well, our army horses used to be like that. The coat was real shiny. Yeah. Yes, you had to be first class them days. It's all work, yeah. But there you are, used to get used to them sort of things. Cheltenham Park. That's when I was demobilised at Cheltenham Park. Yeah, I remember that. That park's still there now, Cheltenham Park. Still a big park over there now, over the other side of the water. Oh yeah, the Beaumont suit, yeah. You know, that wore out. yeah, the Beaumont suit, yeah. They measured up for that. Oh no, after the war I went back in the port of London. There was a labourer. Of course, I had my job in the Victoria Dock. I had a mobile crane that used to lift 2.5 ton. That was all I had. Drive that 2.5 ton, that 2.5 ton crane. Yeah, that's what I used to do. Yeah, I used to drive that 2.5 ton crane. Used to lift 2.5 ton. Of course, it was a 5 ton crane really. But anything over 2.5 ton, I used to go down to a 12 ton crane. Down the end of the Victoria Dock, used to have a 12 ton crane. Harry Hook used to drive that. His name was Harry Hook. His name was Harry Hook. Used to drive that 12 ton crane. But I drove this 2.5 ton crane most times, all the time, unloading vans and all that sort of thing. And my biggest lift was a big case that used to carry furniture. Anybody going abroad on the American boat used to be a big furniture case, 2.5 ton. That was one of the biggest one I used to lift. That used to be 4 hooks really. It used to have the hooks on them, the eyelets on them. So I used to lift up with the eyelets, land them on what they call a doobie truck. It used to be a big truck, all as big as one as this, and had four wheels on it, so you could turn it anywhere. You used to land them on them, and they used to tow one of our electric trucks. They used to tow them shipside or anything like that. And most times I used to lift these off the vans. You get a van with a big case on there, furniture case. I used to lift them off and land onto one of these doobies. And that used to go shipside, landed on the American boat or something like that if they were going to America. Of course, we used to load the big American boats there where I was at the Victoria Dock. We used to load the Yankee boats. The Seashed, of course, they went to the they went east, sort of thing, you know. The Seashed, they went out east. Yeah, Singapore and them places are all down. But where I was on our side, we used to load, it was an American boat. Yeah. This last war, I used to had to put incendiaries out. I used to drop incendiaries in the warehouses. And we used to have to put them out with sand. Drop sand over them, put them out. I used to do night work there. During this last war, we used to do night work in case any jobbers go. A chap and I used to have a little concrete bivvy down in Victoria Dock, and we used to have a telephone in there. So there was any Germans used to drop over and drop incendiaries. Of course, we used to have to go and pull them out, save their warehouses. That's what we used to do, save our warehouses. Yeah, incendiaries. We used to drive in and put them out. And any tobacco bales caught fire, we used to get over our truck and get on the bell and pitch it outside. One rain I know we had to go up and it was burning, being wooden floors, and we had to pull the barges out the way because I don't know whether you know what cobra is. Do you know what cobra is? They're dried coconuts, dried coconuts. And we had to pull the barges out the way because this 6-storey building was alight in the southwest of the dock, and we had to pull the barges out the way in case they caught fire. And they were full of cobra. Of course, that's coconut, dried coconut. And this 6-storey building was alight. Yeah, that was. But my biggest fire was when I was 12 years old, when the loaders in Eucaline in Silvertown caught fire, and there was fat all down the road. Over in Woolwich, yeah, Silvertown. Loaders in Eucaline caught fire, yeah, that was a fat all down the road. going all down the curbs running. Yeah, I remember that. I was 12 years old then, going to school, going up to Silvertown School at the time, and I caught to see this fire. Yeah, I went to school at Woolwich for the first place, and then I went up to Drew Road, Silvertown. That was my school I finished up in Drew Road, Silvertown, yeah. I finished up with them. But I was a bit of a dunce, I think. Yeah, I learnt most, all my years since then I've learnt more than I learnt with them, going to school. Yeah. My knowledge has been over the years. I've picked up knowledge over the years. And I had a dictionary, I used to, like the old dictionary, I used to study that a lot. But I've done a fair amount of reading. I don't know, I haven't got a book. My book's in the other place. It's, I don't know if I'll get more to show you the book that I do read. It's all over the years. Yeah, I'll get more to, whether she's hiding herself, I think she could come in here. She could come in here and fetch some book that I do read. Yeah. That's a lovely book I do read, yeah. I'll get her to show you that. If she can turn up here. But she's busy, I think. I don't know what she's doing. I don't play them much, so that's why I don't get used to playing them. No, it's a long time since I played it, yeah. But I played all through the war. I used to play the boys in the march and all that. I used to have a big one. I haven't been back there, no, I haven't been back there. No, so it'll be an experience for me to go back there. Because I may not know Bethune and all that sort of thing, because it's built up. There's no doubt the Menin Road and all that would be built up. We're going to try and find out where he's buried, Freddie Weller.